Action.
Yeah, getting back to the Skinwalker Ranch, I have a friend who actually spent time researching things on that ranch. His name is Chad Deacon. He's quite well known in crop circle research as a Canadian researcher. He spent a lot of time in England and examining the crop circles. But he was commissioned by Robert Bigelow, who owned the Skinwalker Ranch later, to be part of a team of scientists and researchers to investigate paranormal phenomena. And they did notice that there were some strange creatures or
Very
things.
strange,
And
yeah.
some of these things seem to have come through a portal. Some of the researchers there actually saw a portal opening up. But there was an orb phenomena. And when animals were chasing these orbs, I think there were some dogs that chased a few orbs, they were later found dead or liquefied. And so, but the orb phenomena is not unique just to certain locations like the Skinwalker Ranch and the UFO phenomena. It's associated with the fairy phenomena. They were called will-o'-the-wisps or fairy lights, or in the haunted place they were called ghost lanterns or ghost lights. So the orb phenomena has been observed physically by people that are able to see them, but also cameras now that are more sensitive to full spectrum light,
infrared
and so on, have been able to pick this up as well. I have a camera that's very sensitive to the infrared. It has night vision capability, and I have used it sometimes in places that appeared to be haunted. And again, we did pick up a lot of orbs.
That's right. I was with you one time at one
some of the orbs on one of my other cameras could appear in different colors. And there's a place called Irving House in New West.
That's where we went.
Quite well known to be haunted. And I picked up a lot of different orbs in different rooms. But the people there themselves have seen paranormal phenomena happening, apparitions.
And manifest into apparitions,
And
it's energy.
But orbs are not always seen by the human eye, but certain sensitive cameras to other spectrums of light can pick them up. But they are definitely associated with lots of different kinds of paranormal phenomena, including the UFO phenomena.
Oh, totally. When I was having all these incredibly disturbing and strange abduction encounters in the Gatineaus in the early 90s, I mentioned a couple of them with L.A. Marzulli in his video, The Watchmen Chronicles, but there were some other very, very disturbing encounters. And one time, I was with a friend of mine that actually owned the property where I was renting. He came up for a visit, brought his dog by, and we were in the cottage having a chat, and I was telling him, look, there's some weird stuff going on up here. And, I don't blame the guy. He's like, what do you mean weird? And then I told him, I said the UFO stuff and just missing time. And then after I said that, all of a sudden I got this overwhelming feeling something was outside and wanted us to go outside. The guy's dog started barking at the door. We opened the door, and there was about, 50 feet away, an orb the size of a basketball. It was orange, and it looked alive. And we were staring at it. The dog was freaking out. It ran back in the house, went underneath the bed, and we're watching it. My friend was like in a trance. He was just like, what the heck is that thing? And it just imploded and vanished.
Yeah.
And when I was telling this guy this stuff, he didn't believe me at first. Then he saw this. These things watch you. That's why they're called watchers. When I have my encounters back east, I don't believe I had any implants in me, but when I moved out to Vancouver, these things got a hold of me in years later.
Yeah, about being watched. People in haunted houses, even though they can't see anything,
that's right.
They have also had a sense of being watched. I've I had a couple.
About it. Yeah.
I had a couple of experiences in Hawaii myself, where I was camping with a couple of friends at the place where Captain Cook was murdered at Kealakekua Bay. And that night I had this very palpable sense of something watching me when I was still awake. I wasn't sleeping at the time.
No.
I could just feel
an overwhelming feeling of being watched.
And then I was camping out by myself at another area near the Kona Airport on the Big Island where there were petroglyphs. And again, I had a very strong sensation of something watching me. But also I could also kind of see it in my mind's eye that something that looked like a shaman or a kahuna.
Which
was the one that was watching me.
Yeah.
I just had a very strong sense that it was something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of being watched is something that's being noticed by many people
It's been here
living
forever.
in haunted locations,
Yeah.
or even UFO researchers, but especially people having sometimes UFO encounter and abduction.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a kind of telepathy, like what you mentioned, that can occur between individuals.
That's right.
The problem is that the beings behind the phenomena, they seem to want attention.
They
and in
do.
some cases they want worship.
Opening the door to them too, right?
Well, we have UFO cults and religions where contactees, became kind of messengers or missionaries for these beings,
Mm-hmm.
and they created UFO cults and religions.
Yeah.
Some of them are well known, like Heaven's Gate, where
Mm-hmm.
people were committed suicide because they were told that was a way to release their bodies to
Yeah.
join a UFO coming on near with a comet. But there are UFO religions that consider these beings to be spiritual beings that can give us philosophy and teaching. There's even core groups now that has the potential to become UFO cults. That's mentioned in Paul Hellier's book.
Mm-hmm.
But also
Extremely dangerous.
there's also the case of Valiant Thor, which we haven't talked about yet. But there's a few people that met Valiant Thor and actually photographed him. You can see photographs of Valiant Thor and alleged members of his crew on a Google image search. But Valiant Thor allegedly was a human-looking alien
Mm-hmm.
that appeared in the late 50s to a number of people associated with the Eisenhower administration and to a man named Dr. Frank Strange.
Okay.
He was an evangelical minister
Mm-hmm.
who was asked to speak at some churches in Washington, D.C. A lady from the Pentagon invited him to meet a stranger or someone at the Pentagon, but they thought, with his background in criminology, he's done investigations for the government, he has a degree in theology and psychology. They thought he would be a person to meet this person that's been called Valiant Thor. And so they did meet, okay? And Valiant Thor appeared to be highly telepathic. He knew all kinds of things about Dr. Strange without anyone telling him.
Right.
He had an ability, he had no navel, no fingerprints. He had an ability to dematerialize and appear anywhere he wanted or disappear. He was not a prisoner.
No.
But there was people at the Pentagon that were interested in his, his technology and his, his story.
Mm-hmm.
The Valiant Thor, when you first look at this, everybody thinks, hey, this fellow's a very spiritual.
This is great. He could be an angel.
Well, that's actually
Which kind?
That's what Dr. Strange and his wife, I spoke to Dr. Strange's wife,
Right.
and they thought he was some type of angelic being.
Yeah.
Well, the
deceived.
Watchers are fallen angelic
Yeah.
beings. How can you tell the difference between a fallen and unfallen Watcher? Is Valiant Thor some type of angel? Well, there's a movie producer who's had encounters of various kinds with Valiant Thor, and has been downloaded information.
Could be a spiritual message. Will tell you.
Well,
where
the
he's
spiritual
at.
message is what reveals whether they're fallen or not. And when you examine the teaching of Valiant Thor, there's a lot of spiritual disciplines
Mm-hmm.
and philosophies and ideas that are what philosophers call pantheistic, monistic ideas, that we're all connected, we're all one.
New Age.
That we can explore other dimensions and discover our higher self, or
Yeah.
we're God, or
Being
something.
in the right vibration.
And then
this other
there's
stuff
this
is-
teaching from Valiant Thor called the Magic Door, using your mind to open a portal to another dimension through guided imagery.
Yeah.
Guided imagery is used a lot in the New Age movement
Yeah.
and among certain religions that want to connect with their spirit guide or whatever. So we're dealing with let's say, disciplines that can cause a person to go into an altered state of consciousness.
Incredibly deceptive.
And when we deal with altered state, we also have to mention entheogenic plants and mushrooms and things like ayahuasca, because the shamans of these cultures, like in the Amazon, they are able to see into the realm of the spirit realm.
And what are they seeing, Gordy?
And they're seeing beings that can shapeshift, and some of them actually look like gray aliens.
Greys, reptilians,
And they
duh.
depicted in the shamanic art that they look like grays and flying around with saucers and UFOs.
It's not all so wonderful.
So we're dealing
at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
but the altered state is very common in the pagan religions, in the shamanistic religions, the animistic religions. Some cults today encourage, like Scientology, encourages some.
Even Ancient Aliens is very cult-like with their message.
Well, but
their mainstay group have not changed their tune since season 1, which makes you wonder, if you've been researching this for so long, how do you ignore actual evidence of what these things are doing? All the missing people, what they're actually, do you think kidnapping people and trying to blank your memory is good? I mean, they totally keep putting a spin on this that makes no sense. None.
Another thing is that some UFO researchers, like Dr. Carla Turner,
excellent.
You can watch some of her videos. She was an abductee
Amazing.
herself. She, when she was younger, was involved with the kind of hippie counterculture thing. That could have opened a door for her to have these experiences with her husband. If you've been involved with the counterculture, Eastern religion,
there's patterns with that for
the
sure.
The use of hallucinogenic drugs, that can open
the door without even you having a clue
for further,
of how you opened it.
Yeah, further encounters with these kind of beings.
Haunted land too, being on
like
old Indian land. I've heard over and over again.
If you live in places that are considered to be sacred places, haunted places, portal places, they're actually called portals by some of these people, there's a greater chance of having a paranormal or a UFO phenomenon. And UFOs, they don't always look like structured nuts and bolts.
No, some of them aren't.
They appear to be sometimes nebulous balls of light, or plasma, or something that can shapeshift.
They appear, and
disappear.
Shapeshift.
So we're dealing with something that is, cataloged in books and research on the paranormal. Okay, but again, this altered state thing is a part of, when altered states are experienced, it opens the door for that person to have contact. But it can also be due to what I call the fishing lure effect.
Yeah, you mentioned
that
to
a few times.
No, that makes sense too.
I love fishing. I have friends that like fishing. And how do you catch a fish? Well, you have to present the lure. And if the lure is shiny and it makes some noise and it's flashy and it looks like food or something appealing, if the fish pays too much attention to that lure,
gets grabbed.
It can be taken. It could be. It could. Sometimes it's catch and release, but often if it's a nice fish, people keep the fish. And there are people that have disappeared, in places.
These national parks.
National parks. David Pilati.
You can be the first or last person in the line, walk around the corner, and you're gone. Your footprints end. You're sucked up. I've been teleported. A girlfriend of mine was teleported at the same time. I've talked to abductees that have been teleported in the same room as somebody else and just vanished. Just literally vanished. Like the Star Trek transporter, but quicker than that. You're just gone in the blink of an eye. And that's happening. I mean, all these people that are disappearing.
Yeah, they're taken.
They're not taken for a holiday, believe me.
The word taken is actually used to describe these people being taken. Like I worked on a miniseries. I do background work in the film industry.
That's right.
And I worked on Spielberg's miniseries Taken. And again, in that series, it deals with aliens that are shapeshifters. And take on a human form or animal form or alien form. But they often take people either temporarily or permanently. And sometimes there's genetic.
This is the furthest thing from entertainment, by the way. The stuff is real. You hear of stories of going in haunted houses and smelling something like sulfur over and over again when these things manifest. You see UFOs going down active volcanoes, and it's, that can't be. Where do you think they're going? They're not going for a tan. They're going into an inner world.
Also, there are certain portal locations or places that are haunted.
Many,
There's a forest in Romania.
Animals
and humans have disappeared going into this region of Hungary. It's I think it's called the Baku Haku Forest. But there's been strange UFO phenomena, disappearances of people and animals. Sometimes people do come back, sometimes they don't.
Mm-hmm.
But now David Pilates, with a criminal investigation background, has written a series of books called Missing 411, where he's saying people are disappearing from national parks like Yosemite,
Hundreds and hundreds,
Mount Shasta, other places he calls cluster places. Incidentally, he says that some of the places where people are disappearing are named after the devil.
That's right, yeah. And what a coincidence.
Isn't that a coincidence?
How about the Devil's Sea? How,
the Devil's Steps, the Devil's Tower, the Devil, there's various locations.
Why were they called that?
Yeah, because strange or bad things would happen.
Live in a very, very haunted world right now.
And, maybe the devil is involved, or his minions are involved of something.
He's working overtime right now.
There are also this prophecy in the Bible about people being taken.
Yes, one will stay, one will go.
He mentioned that there will be two women in the field, one will be taken, one will be left behind. There will be two people in bed, one will be taken, one will be left behind. We see that in the UFO abduction phenomena. Now some Christians are saying, well, that's just a rapture.
Mm-hmm.
Well, are you sure? Because when the disciples asked Jesus, were they taken?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say they were taken to heaven, or this was the resurrection. He said, were they taken, predatory birds like eagles
it's
will
where
gather.
The crows will fly.
Well, he said eagles will gather.
Was it eagles?
And the eagles are considered to be predatory birds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if you see vultures or eagles circling a location, it could mean that something has died,
dead,
or something, will be dead.
Yeah.
In the future.
Yeah.
And so, again, there are prophecies about in the end times.
It's playing out.
People will be taken, and sometimes they won't be returned.
We're living in a very, very, how would you put it, supernatural world with these things manifesting. I mean, the sightings are off the charts. The people that are missing are off the charts. There's stuff being released about the deep state. It's not only government, it's in the military, it's in NASA. These people that work in the Pentagon don't have a clue what's probably happening in these underground bases. Yeah. They're controlled by these things.
Well, one example of someone I know who was taken and became an abductee is a fellow I've mentioned before, Lauren Goldfader.
Yeah.
I don't think I've mentioned this to LA before, and I mentioned it many times at the UFO meetup group when I spoke there. But Lauren was a postal office worker, but he got deeply interested in the UFO phenomena. He started to interview abductees.
Yeah.
And eventually he heard the talk of Dr. Stephen Greer at SFU when he gave a talk there about how to set up the protocols to have an abduction or encounter. And so he used some type of strobe phenomena with a turntable with symbols, and he told me that he went to these places where UFOs were seen, and eventually he got abducted, he claimed. He was taken to underground bases somewhere in Europe, and then eventually, at first he thought it was something good. He thought he was being chosen for a special purpose, to be a healer. But, I lost track of contact with him.
You've never heard of him again?
No. I lost contact for about 15 years with him, and then I re-established contact. But even before he disappeared for a while out of my life, he was showing up at my place with strange marks on his body that would only show up under ultraviolet light. Some of these marks on abductees have geometric shapes and patterns.
Yeah.
His didn't have that kind of, but they only showed up on ultraviolet light. But then, eventually, he claimed he was abducted and implants were put into his body, many implants. And he was told that if he didn't cooperate with this agenda or abduction agenda, because he said other people in his neighborhood were being abducted. These beings were creating poltergeist activity in his
driving him
apartment.
crazy.
Yeah, he was actually some people.
More stories of the Space Brothers.
Knew that he was
they're not Space
losing
Brothers.
it. Something was messing with his mind, maybe giving him information. But he was actually very frightened and thought he needed some type of protection from these things. But anyways, but how did he get abducted? Well, he showed interest in the phenomena.
Which opened the door.
Remember the fishing lure example?
Yeah.
He showed too much interest in in the UFO phenomenon, or you want to make an encounter yourself,
Mm.
you better be careful what you wish for.
No kidding. Or you could be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
That's right.
And show interest by, boy, that's interesting. I've never seen anything like that. And they're reading your mind. They've seen you before you've seen them, and they want to see your reaction. And that's what started my encounters. And it didn't help by moving onto Indian land, this beautiful area
Yeah.
in the Gatineaus, and more abductions.